the sea. Tune in now for laughs and glee. Join the fun here on this spree. Click and subscribe, it's free.
This is part one of a series of videos covering my first 3 months back in Thailand. I'll be touching on some subjects I brought up in my previous videos, namely covering topics of crime, transportation, and various observations encountered during this short stint so far. Living in Thailand is a joy. If it weren't, so many people wouldn't be embarking on this quote-unquote journey as I type this. In my mother's village, which sits about 20 minutes outside of downtown Khon Kaen, Thailand's fourth largest and fastest growing city, by the way, I see Westerners huddled together at local restaurants and with their wives in markets on a daily basis here. Mind you, 20 minutes outside of Bangkok, the business district anyway, is still downtown Bangkok. An hour outside of downtown Bangkok is still downtown Bangkok. Even though Khon Kaen isn't what I would call a small town by any stretch of the imagination, 20 minutes places us squarely in a rural village with quick and easy access into the city, of course, but it's quieter, more relaxed, and it has a casual vibe. Perhaps that's why I see these men here. They've opted to reside out here instead of in the Pullman Hotel area downtown where it's noisier, there's bars everywhere. I mean, if you can get that in 20 minutes and be home within 20 minutes, why not do it? As mentioned in a previous video, one of the reasons why people from the West find their way to Thailand is the perception of a low crime rate. In my Why Thailand video, I mentioned that it just feels safe in Thailand, but I didn't want to make any definitive proclamations on crime rates. YouTube is filled with people who emphatically say all sorts of unproven nonsense, and qualifying your statements by saying, quote unquote, in my opinion, does not excuse the misinformation. Ergo, if I've gotten this information wrong, I apologize and encourage corrections. I did try to do my best. According to the Thailand Institute of Justice, yeah, the name sounds odd. So I looked it up. Apparently, it's a public group set up by the decree of the Thai government to study crime. From what I can tell, mainly in Bangkok, but it also does studies throughout Thailand. Roughly 8.5 thousand random people were surveyed across 10 different provinces in the country and asked questions concerning their quote-unquote feelings about their safety. Almost 79%, let's just call that 80%, felt safe walking in their neighborhoods at night. I have actually heard no more than a year ago from someone in the States that the reason why crime is so low here in Thailand is that you get shot for whatever crime that you commit. My only response is no, you're wrong on that on several levels. But regardless, the police don't walk around chopping off your hands or your arms for petty theft and stuff like that here. It's just racist nonsense, really. But regardless, fear of being harshly punished by the police is not a motivating factor here. Anyways, despite the high level of personal safety feelings among the respondents of the survey, this was partially due not to the fact that they didn't experience crime, but because the majority of the crimes that they experienced were related to petty theft. But petty crime isn't what most of us concern ourselves with when we determine whether we want to spend a good part of our lives in a place. I mean, the Vatican and the Louvre are known for having pickpockets, but nobody's going to use that as an excuse not to gaze upon the Mona Lisa or St. Peter's Square. When thinking of crime, we're basically talking about not getting shot. And here, apparently, my hunch seems to be correct. Thailand's homicide rate is 2.4 per 100,000 people, where the global average is twice that. Being American, I looked up the homicide rate in my country. Depending on the source, the number is actually as high as 6.2 or as low as 5.4. I'm not sure what the disparity is between the two different studies, but that's a sizable difference. Suffice it to say, regardless of where it resides in that standard deviation, it's around the global average, but is the highest rate among the G7 nations so far. The good news is the rate fell and has been falling since 2021 in America. Good job. Ergo, coming to Thailand is relatively safe in comparison to visiting even countries like the United States. With regards to traveling, I've been here for 3 months, right? And like I said, I have family visiting from the US. Again, in a previous video, I mentioned that it was faster to take the bus from Bangkok to Khon Kaen and several of the cities up in the northern regions. I really should have qualified that statement. I would recommend flying during any day around the Christmas holiday to just after New Year's. I've had to travel between Bangkok and the Isan cities before, 3 times before as a matter of fact, and each time I keep telling myself that I may luck out this time. Stupidly. The 6-hour bus ride took 13 hours this time. If you're just vacationing in the kingdom, wasting an entire day en route is just eating up your vacation time. Here, I would recommend an overnight sleeper, since you're likely just going to be sleeping during those hours anyways. But it isn't cheap for a private cabin, and from what I'm being told, and I haven't verified this, your private cabins aren't really truly private if you're soloing it. That is, if you're traveling by yourself, because they fit 2 people per private cabin, so you're likely going to be paired up with somebody else. If you're going in a pair, then great, that's a great option. But it isn't terribly cheap to do it. You might as well just shell out the extra bucks and fly. It's only an hour between these cities. Even during high season, the tickets can run around like $100 US, or sometimes even less. The return trip, which I was dreading, was back to normal. It took 6 hours to return to Khon Kaen. By the way, Nakhon Chai Air has its own bus station if you book online on 1-2-Go or any other online booking company, and it tells you to go to the Mo Chit bus station in Bangkok. The taxi driver is going to get confused and insist that you go to the Nakhon Chai Air station on Kampeng Phet 2 Road. The 2 stations are near each other, so I'd say probably within like 10 minutes of a cab ride or less, even with the traffic, you can go from one station to the other. But the taxi drivers, at least ours, insisted that we go to the Nakhon Chai Air station, despite the fact that on my ticket it specifically said to go to Mo Chit. What is happening is that the bus starts in the Nakhon Chai Air station 20 minutes prior to pulling into Mo Chit. So if your ticket says Mo Chit and the taxi driver insists taking you to Nakhon Chai Air, check your ticket time. You'll be rolling out of the station at Nakhon Chai Air 20 minutes earlier than what's on your ticket. What's on your ticket is the Mo Chit Air station, or the Mo Chit bus station, sorry. Nakhon Chai Air also has 2 different classes, and it's kind of flipped opposite of what some of the other bus companies have. Their VIP class is called Gold Class, and then there's the First Class. With this specific bus company, the First Class is actually the better of the 2. Each seat is spacious with its own private monitor. The bus also made only 2 stops at 2 stations near Bangkok. It was a straight shot to Khon Kaen otherwise. You can call and book tickets by dialing 1624 inside the country, or just do it online. I found an online service called 1-2-Go. This booking company is a bit more responsive than the bus companies, and their English is a bit better. Be careful, by the way, when you're booking, because if you need to speak to an operator and change your ticket for any reason, it's really hard to find a number posted for any of these companies. I remember wanting to change a ticket and being forced to fill out an online form and wait for a response. On the other hand, I left a bag on the bus, and by the end of the day, a customer service representative reached out to me from Nakhon Chai Air and was really, really helpful. Now, driving in the kingdom, as you guys know, I'd recently gotten a driver's license. That has been an adventure. So I've been driving in Thailand for about a month, and the experience has been not great. You have to have Jedi reflexes and spidey senses, and it doesn't matter if you're in the city or in a country setting. You have to be extremely vigilant. I mean, regardless of what country you're in, this is good advice, but in Thailand, just going down to the village market means potentially being run off the road by a truck or a tractor, or turning any of a dozen number of street dogs into canine patties. We have a homeless man who walks in the middle of the road out here in the middle of nowhere. So we just kind of drive around him, and it doesn't even have to be on the road. I got cut off in a queue at this gas station by that lady in front of me. She ain't gonna let no poor peripheral vision and common sense get in the way of her girl boss swag, I suppose. Even the tiny little road to my my mother's property has a section of overgrowth on the left that grows out of a raised wall of earth. The property to the left is undeveloped jungle basically, and has a small hill that runs up and down that road area. And lo and behold, a buffalo just out of nowhere jumps right out in front of me. I mean, I guess it was on the hill grazing or something, I don't know. All I know was I was driving slow enough to have avoided hitting it, but I almost nailed that thing in the butt. Only in Thailand. Once you factor in the cars which treat indicator lights like kryptonite, traffic laws like Catholics treat the Pope's restrictions on premarital relations, and motorcyclists damn well doing whatever the hell they want to do, going in any direction that they want, you're playing an expensive game of Frogger. It's exhausting. So needless to say, we opted to take the bus back and forth from here to Bangkok. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I'd like to say that I am physically and emotionally exhausted. So when I went down to visit my family in Bangkok, I really spent a lot of time alone. I really need some alone time right now to just recharge and recollect and ground myself. So I didn't see a whole lot, but what I did see, I kind of have some reflections and thoughts on. So the following videos, maybe I probably will have at least 2 more videos based on my 3 months or my first 3 months of being here, are going to give you some insight into the things that I've noticed that have changed, things that have stayed the same, and corrections to some of my previous videos are going to be made because of that. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much, everyone.